Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. I hope you've had a good day. Mine's been all right. Friday tomorrow, then the weekend, and we know what that means, don't we? Fury versus White. Slight disagreement at Wembley Stadium between two very good British heavyweights. Biggest British heavyweight tussle since Bruno versus Lewis, which in itself was had its little surprises along the way, but was won by the guy who was the favourite. Fury goes into this fight the favourite. Is he going to win? Let's do a little bit of a breakdown. I don't normally do the breakdowns, but I think it's a very intriguing fight. And like most fights that are intriguing, it's because of the intangibles. But so the background is Fury's last 5 fights, 3 of them were against Wilder. One was a mismatch against Tom Schwartz, and then he had a fight against the largely unknown Otto Wallin, and that was a bit of a struggle. He got a very bad cut, but he won the fight pretty convincingly. White has been inactive for 17 months following his revenge win over Povetkin. Prior to that, he was knocked stone cold by Povetkin. But there's no doubt White's got a very, very good resume and deserves his title shot against the WBC champ Fury. However, I'll tell you what, let's start and work our way from the floorboards up, because the old cliche that you can't build a house without a good foundation is absolutely true. So we'll start with the feet, because anyone who knows anything about boxing knows that fights are won as much, or pretty much as much with the feet as they are with the fists. This is boxing, not fighting. And even if you have a slugfest, probably the guy with the better feet, the better balance, is the one that stands a better chance of winning. So you might say, well, if this is a footwork contest, Fury wins all day. Okay. I think historically that's probably true. Fury has definitely shown far better footwork throughout his career than Dillian White. However, what's gone before doesn't matter when that opening bell goes. And Dillian White, although his footwork has never been particularly good, I don't think it's world level, it's become refined. He still makes very bad mistakes. The first Povetkin fight, obviously his feet were all wrong. He tried to swing out of the way of a punch. He had no way of getting himself out of the way because of his feet were all squared up. And when he got knocked out with that uppercut, if you look at him going down, his feet are just about parallel. I mean, it was all wrong. But nevertheless, his footwork has improved somewhat in a more of a subtle way, because I think when you talk about good footwork, a lot of boxing fans think that this is about a lot of footwork, a lot of movement, a lot of bouncing up and down, a lot of jumping in and out of range, almost like it's a gymnastical sort of endeavour rather than using your feet intelligently and sensibly. Wasted movement is no good because it's wasted energy. And if you look at Canelo, who when he started in his career, his footwork was very slow, it was quite poor. But now he cuts the ring off beautifully with minimal footwork. I mean, he moves his feet. I mean, probably a better example offhand is Chocolatito, who's impeccable footwork, absolutely impeccable. But if you take those two just as examples, their feet, very rarely are both their feet off the ground. You won't, a lot of people who jump up and down, they bounce around. And these are guys who use their feet intelligently to get into position to hold their shape, so that if they are hit, there's a solid base for them to take the punch. They can move into range or out of range at any point. They can be offensive and still hold their shape, get into position, and defensively can move out if there's any danger, or if they've done their work and they want to just slip and slide, maybe a side step, a half step, something like that, But these are people who use their feet intelligently. I don't want to pick on any particular fighter, but one fighter who I've heard kind of lauded quite heavily is Sonny Edwards, and I don't like his style at all. I don't like that bouncing up and down footwork, in and out thing. I'm not picking on Sonny in particular. He's a world champ. Good luck to the guy, but I don't. In his last fight, I thought there were some danger signs there, and I think a lot of it springs from the waist down, the work he does from the waist down, the feet. I think there's just a bit too much movement, too much wasted energy. But anyway, I'm digressing. So Dillian's feet have improved subtly. There's still some bad mistakes, but he's able to get into range intelligently without leaving himself wide open, which previously it was more of a case of, he was more of a slugger. He's become a pretty decent world level boxer. Fury, we know about his footwork because he's Well, Klitschko, he just boxed. Beautiful boxing display. Used his feet very well. Didn't really even try to knock Klitschko out. First Wilder fight, he did a lot more movement in that fight than against Vladimir Klitschko. And he was using his feet a bit more, in a bit more of a cavalier way. But basically he boxed very, very well against a rather limited boxer. Wilder is a pure puncher with a one-punch hitter, but he's not what we'd call a pure boxer. He's certainly anything but. But all this up and down with the weight, taking off the weight, putting it on. And I'm not talking about when he put on 10 stone. I'm talking about quite recently. There were pictures of him looking very, very heavy. He's lost that quite quickly. I don't think he's going to come in particularly heavy. I think he'll probably come in at 270, 275. He was talking about coming in at 300 pounds plus. Ridiculous. He won't do that. But I just think that his ability to move as much as he did in the past may be under question. I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying there's a question mark over it because of the constant putting on the weight, losing it. Dillian Whyte himself said that in the third Wilder fight, he thought Fury had to adopt that tactic. It wasn't a choice. He thought he had to adopt the tactic because his legs weren't there anymore. Or I'm not saying he's shot. I don't think Whyte was saying he was shot. He's just not quite as nimble and as varied and as strong as he once was. And that may be his lifestyle. It may be. I don't know. If it's true, of course. Knowing Tyson Fury, he can get in the ring and he can show you things that you just never thought he would show you. He's done it in the past. He's proved me wrong on several occasions. So, But it is a question worth asking, I think. Now, moving on to from the waist up, shall we say? How's the fight going to unfold as far as offense and defense goes? I don't think Fury will wade in. I don't think he'll try and go straight at White like he did Wilder certainly in the second fight, probably in the third fight as well. And people talk about that third Wilder fight as being one of the great heavyweight fights. It was actually quite one-sided, apart from the fourth round where Fury went on the floor twice. But it does bear mentioning that when he's hit, Fury goes down. He goes on the floor, he gets up. And he's got very, very good recuperative powers, very good. The flip side, on the other corner, we got White. His two defeats have been absolute cold knockouts, stone cold knockouts. He's also been on the floor against Rivas. He's barely survived against Joseph Parker, where he was out on his feet. He was knocked down and out on his feet at the end. Had that been an old 15-rounder, Parker would have knocked him out probably in the 13th round. So Dillian's chin ain't great and Fury's chin ain't great. There we have another intangible who's, I think there's no doubt in my mind if Dillian lands that big left hook, he'll put Fury on the floor. Fury might get up, but he'll go on the floor. And if Fury catches Dillian with a good bit of timing, I think Dillian hits the floor as well. Timing, I just mentioned timing. That's another thing. Who's got the better timing in this fight? Is Fury still able to feint and move and time his punches as well as he did against a Vlad, or maybe in the first fight with Wilder, a couple of others? Yeah, possibly. What about Dillian Whyte? What about his timing? Again, I don't really know, to be honest. I've got to be honest. I can't really. I think Tyson Fury will box, and I think he will try to lure Dillian to come forward and try to land the big punches. I think Fury will be a little bit conservative. I don't think we'll see that Kronk thing going on, that go forward, very aggressive style. I don't think we'll see any of that sort of stuff we see, say, from Lennox Lewis in the second half of his career. Having said that, I don't think White's going to wade in either. White is obviously the shorter man by, 5 inches, 6 inches maybe? But his reach is very, very long. And I think that very often, people make the mistake of thinking that he's out of range, or they're out of range, and that you're not. Dillian's got long, long arms for a guy of that height, a good reach. So I think the old cliche is you jab with a jab, and I think we'll see Dillian possibly moving forward, but jabbing. I don't think he'll be hanging a lot of big punches off that jab. I think he's going to try and, it sounds, people laugh at when I've said this, but I think he'll try and out jab Fury. And having mentioned timing, I think timing, the timing of the jab is one of the keys to victory for either man. I think if Dillian can get his jab going and time Fury, that's a big key to unlock a big door, or at least one of the doors. Now, a guy I work with, a guy called Johnny, shout out to Johnny Cruikshank, he raised a very good point when we were talking about this fight earlier today. And I think I'm not saying it will happen, but it was a suggestion by Johnny, and I think it's worth considering. It's a hypothetical that could happen. He said that because White has such a big, powerful left hook, which Fury probably knows can knock him out, what Fury might do is spend a lot of the fight southpaw in a bid to protect himself from the left hook and try and lure White into throwing more right hands than perhaps he would prefer. White's right hand is not brilliant. It's not a bad punch. If he lands it, it's going to hurt you. But he does tend to throw it sometimes if he's throwing a ball. It's kind of slung. There's not much sharpness to it. And you can see it. That's the important thing. You can see it coming. That hair trigger left hook is a different kettle of fish. So I think, I said to Johnny, I should have thought of this myself, but well done to Johnny for mentioning it. But he said to me, I think he'll go southpaw as a protection against the left hook. And, you know, I'm not saying the whole fight southpaw, but he'll vary it a bit just to keep White guessing. Again, if I was White, I would concentrate on the jab, not just to the head. Go to the body, then the head, the body. Obviously, you throw the right hand occasionally. You know, it's not all one-way traffic. You throw the left hook just to make sure Tyson realises that left hook, just to keep him honest. But it's a jab. It sounds weird saying it, but I think it's a jab. The jab is the key to victory for Dillian. Because he's got those long arms, he can land that jab. He doesn't have to hurt Fury. I mean, it would hurt him, but he's got to land that jab constantly. Bang, bang, bang. And if Fury comes in, if Fury thinks, the hell with this, if Dillian is getting the timing right and Fury is becoming a little frustrated, he might come in, and that's when Dillian should unload the big artillery, your left hooks, the uppercuts. So, of course, all of this is a big hypothetical. Who's going to win? I could talk about other aspects of it. We've talked about the chin. We've talked about timing. We've talked about the footwork. Whenever you make a prediction, or whenever I make a prediction, I don't know about you, but whenever I make a prediction, I always think it's best to err on the side of caution and say, I'm going to presume that both men are mentally prepared and physically prepared. But that neither's carrying an injury, that neither is in a bad place because of some private issues or whatever. Now, before I give my prediction, I want to mention something else as well that I heard. I almost forgot, but I think this is worth mentioning too. I watched G-Man Boxing's great channel. Go over see G-Man Boxing, subscribe, great channel. And G-Man said he watched the press conference between Fury and White, the one where John Fury acted like a twat and tried to take on Baby Ting. Don't go there, John. Don't go there. It's going to end bad. But G-Man said that he got the impression that Fury wasn't mentally 100% there and he couldn't put his finger on it. And I got the same impression watching that press conference. And again, I could be wrong. I mean, G-Man picked White to win. He said he thinks White will stop Fury late. But I think he's onto something there. And I thought that watching that press conference, I thought there's something not quite right about Fury. There's been talk about retirement, and you never know what to believe with Fury because he talks everything from absolute sense to absolute crap. So what do you believe? Well, I just reading between the lines, the demeanour, everything from, the look on his face, the tone of voice, I just get the feeling that he might not be as determined to win this fight as Dillian White is. So I think there is a very realistic chance that Dillian could spring an upset. However, I go back to what I was saying a minute or so ago. When making a prediction, I always err on the side of caution. And I'm going to presume that maybe I'm seeing something that isn't there. And I think let's presume that both men are physically and mentally prepared for this fight. 100%. If that's the case, I think Tyson Fury will win this fight in the championship rounds, 10, 11 and 12. So my prediction is for Tyson Fury to stop Dillian in those rounds. If you said to me, how confident are you of that prediction? I would say 40%. I'm not confident of it. I'm making that prediction because this is a prediction video and I've got to do it. But can Dillian win this fight? Without a shadow of a doubt. Can Tyson Fury knock Dillian cold? Yes, he's been knocked cold twice before. Can Dillian knock Tyson out? Yes. Tyson's been on the floor before. He can stop him. Could it be a draw? Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But my prediction is Tyson Fury to retain his WBC heavyweight title in the championship rounds between rounds 10 and 12. So what are your thoughts? Give me your thoughts below, please do. And we'll look forward to the fight. There ain't a lot on the undercard, is there? What kind of bollocks that is. But the main event is intriguing. And let's hope it's a good fight. What I want most of all is for the right man to win. That is to say, the man who deserves to win. We don't want no early stoppages. We don't want any judges getting things wrong. Wrong. You know what I mean? In other words, we don't want the fix. And why should I be euphemistic about this? We don't want the fix to be in. We want a sensible, just result with the best man winning. Okay? I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure you are too. Leave your comments below. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to Joe Stunner Boxing. And as always, I thank you for your time. Much love to you. Friday, and then we've got the big fight. Nice one. Speak soon.